Well, after numerous delays like overtime shifts and bitch-ass broken SD cards, it's time to nut up or shut up. So Zombieland tells the story of 4 people from all across the US coming together to survive Zombieland and each other. What's going on, people? A little bit later than I wanted this video to come out, but better late than never. Zombieland. Zombieland Double Tap comes out this weekend. I've always been a big fan of the first one. Felt like revisiting it. Figured I'd do a review since I'm obviously going to be reviewing the second one. So here we are. My thoughts of Zombieland. You know, this came out in a time where zombie movies especially started to really saturate the market. You know, 28 Days Later in the 2000s really kind of blew the doors off and everybody wanted to make a zombie movie. We had Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead remake, which is one of my favorite zombie films of all time. And it just started to become, especially with Walking Dead, just something that was just everywhere. But luckily, Zombieland found a way to stand out amongst the pack, have its own flavor, and really just be a refreshing experience, which is my first positive. The fact that the style of this movie, the approach of it, the direction, the humor, everything involved with how they put this story together was so fresh and unique and a huge breath of fresh air. We'll just put it that way. In a sub-genre of horror that was starting to feel very saturated and just very overexposed in movies and in TV. And a lot of the reason why it felt so fresh is because of the cast. Like, these 4 cast and these 4 characters is the reason why this movie is so great. When you get Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Emma Stone, and Abigail Breslin together, they are awesome. The chemistry, spot on from all 4 of the different characters. Every single one of them has their own little unique relationship with each other, and you just want to spend time with these 4 characters. Like, we've seen zombie apocalypses, we've seen horror comedies, we've seen the things that are done in this movie a dozen times just last week. But you watch Zombieland and these characters are the reason why it's so fresh, it's so fun, and such an enjoyable standout movie in this subgenre.
Good luck now, Petunia.
Okay. Let me begin my 3-part apology by saying that I think you're a wonderful human with great potential.
But FYI, I beat wholesale ass for a lot less than that.
I'm sure.
I mean, the way that Jesse Eisenberg kind of brings his signature style of kind of quirkiness and a little bit goofiness to this role of Columbus, which is a polar opposite of Woody Harrelson's character Tallahassee, who's the very, like, macho, like, 100% bullheaded male character, which is just an absolute riot. And then you get Emma Stone and her sister Abigail Breslin as Wichita and Little Rock, and they're kind of like little con artists that just continuously fuck over the other 2. And that way that they kind of keep coming across each other and then keep darting away from each other, but fate keeps pulling them back in. Like I said, that character dynamic and that chemistry on screen is something that just brings this movie to a new level, and it's because of these 4 actors and the characters that they play. Moving on from that, I love the fact that this is a horror comedy that does not shy away from the highly R-rated gore. And really good gore effects, by the way, like really good practical effects. Zombies eating people looks like zombies eating people. They don't try to shy away from the horror aspect of these movies because they're going for that more lighthearted tone with the comedy, and that's great. When you have a horror comedy, do not forget about the goddamn horror. And Zombieland doesn't. There's some pretty good tense sequences, there's some really good action sequences, but I love the fact that the zombies look great, they look real, they look practical. All of the bites and the gore and the guts and intestines that are spilling all over the place, the heads getting blown off, all of it feels real and it feels genuine. And that's something that not many horror comedies even bother themselves with. They figure if they have laughs, nobody cares about that other shit. Well, we care. In Zombieland, thank you for caring too.
Some rules are made to be broken. Time to nut up or shut up. Fuck this clown.
But they also do nail the comedy. This is a genuinely funny movie. I am probably the hardest on the comedy genre of movies because probably in the last 10 years, I could count on maybe both hands how many movies have genuinely made me laugh. I feel like the comedy genre has just downgraded itself so much to just easy, cheap jokes. And yes, this movie was 10 years ago, so it's not like it's going to be included in that little group of movies, but this is one of those few comedies or horror comedies that genuinely makes me laugh throughout the entire runtime pretty much, because there's great situational humor, there's great little quirks to each of these characters, like Jesse Eisenberg's rules and how they kind of fit into this universe. And you have the whole thing with Woody Harrelson where the entire time he's trying to find a Twinkie, which is a complete riot whenever he gets snowballs, or he finally almost gets a Twinkie, but Jesse Eisenberg blows it open with his buckshot. Really, really good comedy, and again, a lot of that is attributed to these 4 actors.
You got a purty mouth.
Oh, and how can I not talk about the soundtrack to Zombieland? That is how you do a goddamn soundtrack. From the moment this movie kicks off with Metallica's For Whom the Bell Tolls, that was honestly the moment when I first saw this that I was sucked in. I had no expectations for Zombieland when I first watched it. I figured, it's another zombie movie, it's another horror comedy, whatever. I wasn't even really a big fan of Jesse Eisenberg at the time. Woody Harrelson I liked, but even Emma Stone was kind of still on the rise from Superbad, so she wasn't really a big name. I watched the movie, and as soon as that bell comes on, and you hear dun 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 dun, and you see that badass title sequence, I sat up in my chair and was like, this is made for me. But even beyond the opening credits, you get Van Halen, you get a lot of other great songs in this that just add to the fun. They add to the fun feel that this movie goes for. They're utilized well to have kind of a badass tone to it. I mean, if you are a fan of rock, if you're a fan of metal, whenever they insert those songs in the right places in movies like this, it's like a love letter from the director that says, thinking of you, be mine, here you go. And I thought this movie builds to a really great third act where they have this Pacific Playland, which, you have the title Zombieland, almost sounds like a theme park, and the fact that they actually build to a theme park in the third act of this film really fits. And I just like that whole aesthetic about this theme park, this amusement park that they basically have to themselves, and then it's overran by the undead. You get a badass sequence with Woody Harrelson where he basically locks himself into a game and he's just taking them all out, one-man army. Jesse Eisenberg getting to face his fear of clowns to save the girls. The girls are up in that power tower is what I call it, because I used to grow up with Cedar Point, but power tower kind of ride where they're constantly kind of dropping down to the zombies and going back up, which is a really kind of a tense scenario. Great third act, just a good way to leave this movie off with a nice punch. And finally, as far as positives, you gotta talk about that brilliant Bill Murray cameo. There's not too many cameos, especially in comedies, that feel like a standout sequence in the movie. Oftentimes it feels forced, or it feels like it wasn't quite utilized to its potential. This is one of those examples where it's so unexpected, it really has nothing to do with the movie whatsoever, but fits so perfectly, even with that being said. And you just get that great Bill Murray humor that you don't get too often nowadays, because he doesn't really do comedies that much anymore. So the fact that they inserted him in here, utilized him well, and even for Bill Murray fans, when you get like them watching Ghostbusters or him referencing Garfield in a negative way, it's a fun little sequence. Now, as far as negatives, I'm honestly, surprisingly, I struggled to find some for this movie, because I think for what it's going for, I think it does it pretty damn flawlessly. The only thing, which is going to sound very funny considering what I just said, the only thing about this movie that has ever bugged me is that for whatever reason, I've never quite liked the fact that they shoot Bill Murray. I don't know if it's just because it's Bill Murray, or if it's because it feels like it cuts that great sequence a little bit short, or if it feels like there might have been potential to use him more like throughout the runtime of the movie. I'm not quite sure. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I love that whole sequence, and then as soon as he gets shot by Jesse Eisenberg, even though for a moment it's very funny, it just doesn't quite land for me for whatever reason. Him just kind of, gasping for breath, and it's like, oh yeah, my bad. It just, I don't know. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I've just never loved that part. But all in all, guys, this is one of my favorite horror comedies. I'm so glad that I got the chance to revisit it because I have not watched it in a very long time, and I actually kind of forgot how much I genuinely love this movie, and it really got me pumped up for Zombieland Double Tap, which I've seen, but still, cross your fingers if you're watching in anticipation of whether or not that movie is as good as the first one or not. So Zombieland, huge recommendation for me, not only for the horror fans, but the comedy fans. Love these 4 characters. So glad we are getting a revisit to them because for 10 years, I'm like, where the fuck is Zombieland 2? So much potential with that. Where is it at? Finally got it. Great practical gore, really good comedy, and the whole third act built into a theme park, really enjoyable. So I think for what this movie goes for, very few horror comedies are going to deliver it as well as Zombieland. So if you're a fan of horror comedies, these 4 actors, if you just want to kick back and have a good time in a zombie apocalypse, look no further than Zombieland because it's one of the best horror comedies that I have seen, and it should be a part of your collection. So go out and buy it. So what do you guys think of Zombieland? Do you like this movie as much as me? Did it not quite nail it for you in the comedy tone? Do you feel like there should have been more horror? Do you like these characters? Do you hate these characters? What are your thoughts on the Bill Murray cameo and the way that they wrapped that whole thing up? And are you excited for Zombieland Double Tap? Let me know all of those things down in the comment section below, please, and we will talk about it. Please like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button if you are not already a subscriber. If you guys want to check out some social media links, you can check the video description below for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and my Patreon page, which is a great way to give back to this channel, help this channel grow, and get cool exclusive content for your eyes only if you decide to become a patron. Also, just below the video description is my Teespring store, so check out that little shelf down there. You can scroll down and see it right now. It's got all of my merchandise designs. You got t-shirts, bags, stickers, cinch sacks, all kind of things available in Teespring, and a lot of badass designs created by my buddy Woody Bowen. You've got the Autop Stream logo down there, which is very popular. I've got 31 on 31 designs. Please grab those and get excited for this Halloween when we launch that mother. And a lot of other designs down there, especially if you're a Chucky fan, so check that out. But if you just want to check out some more of my videos, easiest way to do that is click right over here.